Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Casey and I'm a 4-time MDRT qualifier and also a certified master trainer. I've been in the financial planning business for the last 14 years now, and part of my role involves advising clients, and I also lead a sales team and run a partnership with a consultancy business as well. So what I plan to do today is to give you some tips on how you can save and invest, especially during this time of crisis. So the first thing you should do if you want to save, I would recommend, is to list down the purposes you're saving it for. So list down, for example, if you want to have a life goal of, for example, giving to charity an X amount, or maybe a retirement fund, or maybe you want to retire by 45, write it down. Write it all down and have a few of these. So when you have these purposes of why you want to save, it makes saving much easier when you want to do it. So number one, in order to save effectively, even during this time, this principle applies whether or not there's a crisis or there's no crisis. This principle applies, is to have separate accounts for different purposes of your savings. That means that if I'm saving for retirement, I should have a separate account. If I'm saving for leisure or for holiday, I should have a saving account. If I'm saving to buy something that I enjoy, something that brings me joy, something that brings me happiness, then it should be a separate savings account. I give you an example. In my bank account, I have several savings accounts. So every time I get my business income or my commissions income or my salary, the first thing that I do is take a portion out and put it aside to save. That means that if you get an income of, let's say, $10,000, the first thing you should do is you need to put a portion aside to pay taxes. Taxes is the number one thing that you have to account for. The next thing you want to do is to put aside a percentage to pay all your expenses and whatnot. So after everything is gone and done from there, then you would have an amount that you want to save. For example, after putting aside all this amount of money, whether it is 10% paying to a charitable organization of your choice, or tithe, another 10% for income tax, maybe 20% goes to your business expenses, and you're left with maybe 60% of the income, $6,000. From that $6,000, you draw it to yourself as an income. And when you have the $6,000, you need to pay, for example, your housing loans. Maybe your housing loan costs $2,000, and maybe your car loan costs $1,000. So that means $3,000 are gone, and you're left with $3,000. Let's say you need a portion for your expenses from home, or eating out and things like that. That costs another $1,000. That means you're left with $2,000. You might also need to apportion the money out to pay your insurance, pay your bills and things like that, your phone bills, and that can come up to another $1,000. That means you're left with $1,000. From that $1,000, you can determine how you want to do your saving. The next thing you want to do is to know how to take advantage of certain situations or things that are in the market that can allow you to do more savings. Okay, think about it this way. If you have a option to take a 6 months loan deferment, you can take the 6 month loan deferment and you can take that amount and put it into a savings account. But keep in mind that if you're going to do that, you have to make sure that whatever you save, the purposes of doing that is worth the interest rate that might be charged on the remaining amount. For example, here in Malaysia today, there is an option for housing loans. Actually, it's automatic. In Malaysia today, the government and the Bank Negara, our national bank, has announced that there will be a 6 month loan deferment or moratorium for all Malaysians or all who are paying loans for housing loans for 6 months. Now, what that means is during these 6 months, it's automatic. You do not have to apply for it. You do not need to pay for your housing loans. Of course, some of you who have the cash flow can continue to opt to pay for that, but it is automatic. Let me give you a scenario. Imagine you're paying $2,000 for your housing loans, and if you have a 6 months deferment, that means you have a cash flow of $12,000. So you have to determine that if I were to pay this $12,000, assuming you have the cash flow, if I were to put the $12,000 into this loan account and continue to pay my housing loan, would it be worth, is it more important than, for example, putting aside that money to create an investment or save that money aside for investment purposes. So if you take these 6 months a loan deferment to put into the savings account for the purposes of investment, you have to make sure the investment is going to generate better value than it would be to repay your loan. Okay, I know there are thoughts on this that you should take the money and repay the loan first, but if you have a cash flow of a saving account that you can invest, or can teach you to invest, it could be better value for you at your point of time. Of course, this depends on people and depends on person to person. So let's go back to the scenario. If you take $12,000 and go into this account and you are saving the 6 months there, you should be able to use it to invest and make sure, if possible, generate something that is higher than what you're paying for your housing interest rate. So if your housing interest rate costs about 4%, make sure whatever investments you're getting from there is about 6%, 8%, 10%. However, I would caution and recommend you, unless you are already very experienced investing, you should not be putting the entire capital at risk in things that are very speculative type of investments. Now, if you want to know what a speculative type of investment is, I will be sharing a video, and if you click on the link up there, you will be able to see that, and I'll talk a bit more about what is a speculative investment and what is a normal kind of investment, okay, something that's more safe, and I will give my opinion on that as well. So that's one of the ways that you can save during this crisis. So if you're having all these deferments, you can take the amount of money aside and put into another savings account. However, be very careful and to know that this purpose of this savings account or this cash flow account is meant for investment purposes. And you have to be aware to make sure that the interest rates should be better and returning higher than what you are paying currently for your interest rate. Okay, this can be a loan deferment, it can be a moratorium, it could be even applied to situations where you're deferring payments for any of your loans. So I talked about having the separate accounts. I talked about using loan deferments to fund the separate accounts to save, and I'm going to talk about a few other practical ways that you can do. One of them is to actually cut your spending. I know a lot of millennials and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but that is true. In fact, there have been a lot of articles lately that state that consumer spending at home has increased, but consumer spending outside has reduced. For example, that means that if more people are spending to buy groceries, to eat from home during this time, and to find ways to save. In fact, I think I've saved a lot of money because by cooking at home, by doing things at home, working from home, you do cut down on the transport costs, you do cut down on the entertainment costs, you do cut down a lot of traveling time and costs as well. And these are one of the ways that you can save. And of course, the easiest way you can do is to do very practical cuts. So there's certain expenses that you can cut. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a subscription. Many people don't realize this, but they have a cable subscription in their country. For Malaysia, you might have a subscription like Astro or some kind of cable subscription where you're watching videos, you're watching movies and things like that. Cable TV can be very expensive. Of course, it's giving you a source of entertainment. You can always weigh it in and think if it's worth the $100, if it's worth the $50, or worth the $150 that you're paying. So that's one of the ways you can save. How much do you really need to watch anyway? If you really want to watch it, you can actually pay as a per rent basis when you want to watch certain movies. One way you can also save is to look into your expenses on your mobile phone billing, because a lot of people actually spend a lot of money on the mobile phone billing just because they did not update to the latest account. I know that some of you are thinking that, hey, I signed up for an old package last time, it was good and everything, but what they didn't realize that a lot of those old mobile phone packages, they don't actually have unlimited data, they don't have unlimited SMSs and things like that. So if you're on an old plan, it might be worth checking out online to see if there are any newer plans that are more cost effective for you. And if you have broadband at home and you are at home stuck now, you might not need all the mobile data plan as well. So you might see how you can cut down your spending on that and you can save the extra money. It could be $50, it could be $100. In the end of the day, all these little things will add on to your savings that you can use to put into other purposes as well. Try to also take note of the things that you eat, luxury stuff. For example, I do know a lot of people who spend a lot on coffee. and very expensive coffee as well. And of course, I do understand coffee and good coffee. I do appreciate good quality coffee, but maybe you can get away if you're saving for a purpose. Maybe you can get away with coffee that's not as expensive. You can try some of the recipes. You can YouTube them. You can make coffee at home, and sometimes you can make very good pressed coffee as well. Or perhaps you can invest in an espresso machine at home and you can make it by yourself. Probably save a lot more money than going out to buy the coffee outside. Like I said, cut your spending, cut unnecessary spending, and you can save a lot from there. Every little bit that you save from all this unnecessary spending can add up quite a bit. Another thing that I did was also to check my broadband account. If you are on an old broadband account as well, it might be worth to consider upgrading. Even though you're out of contract, you might sign to a new contract, you can end up saving $50 or $100 as well. The last tip that I can give you to probably save better and to have more money to invest during this time is to actually find a recurring source of income, or to find another way of generating another source of income. For example, you could be working, and I've known people who are working outside who are also running an online business, selling a certain product or selling a certain service, or maybe they are doing some kind of advisory work, some kind of consultancy work. During this time, most of us are staying home, and it's probably going to be that way for the next 6 months, 1 year, we don't know. Might as well make good use of your time while you're still at home. Find another source of income, find another source of business, whatever it is, whatever your hobbies are, work around your hobbies. I remember that I met someone who decided to sell watches online, and the reason they did that is because they had a hobby of watches, and it was only a natural progression. So they started selling some watches online, they made some good profit, and that's another source of income as well. If you're looking for a business opportunity that can give you another source of income, feel free to contact me as well. We always have good career opportunities in the insurance business. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you find it useful, please like and please subscribe below. And also, if you have any questions, drop me a personal message, drop me a direct message, or leave a comment below, and I'll be happy to answer if I can. Thank you very much. Stay home and stay safe.